let me give you some fun and depressing facts about money and politics in America. So Obama's campaign, although it had a lot of donors, actually had over 2/3 of their money, 68%, come from large donors. Romney's campaign, of course, had 82% of the money come in from large donors. I'm surprised it's that low for Romney. So in reality, President Obama is more beholden to big donors than he is to small donors, of course. In fact, just over 0.3% of Americans donated $200 or more to candidates and PACs this year. So that is a very, very small percentage of us that they actually care about. But it's actually even smaller than that. Because look, if you give $200 or $400, you think Obama's going to invite you to the White House? You think George W. Bush is going to have you as part of his energy task force that Dick Cheney ran? Of course not. No, the guys they care about are the ones that give over $10,000. So what percentage of Americans give over $10,000? 0.01%. So in reality, we're not talking about the 1%. We're not even talking about the 0.1%. The guys who actually run this country are the 0.01%. And you could be among the top 0.01% richest, but if you don't give money to politicians, then you don't get to buy them. The ones that actually purchase our politicians are in that 0.01%, and they set the laws to their advantage so that they win. Speaking of which, perfect example is in 2004, they had what was called, amusingly, the American Jobs Creation Act, which did no such thing, because after the law passed, a lot of these companies did not hire people in the U.S., they fired them. It wasn't about job creation, it was about lining their pockets. Well, they lobbied for that and spent a considerable amount of money to do that. It was actually to repatriate their money back here into the U.S. They had money abroad, they wanted to bring it back here and pay very little taxes. Instead of paying 35%, they wanted to pay in the ballpark of about 5%. And they got their way. You know what rate of return they got on the money that they invested in politicians? 22,000% rate of return. Gee, I wonder why corporations and big business wants to buy politicians. In fact, you'd be an idiot not to. We allow legalized bribery here in the United States of America, and you'd be a sucker not to participate. Now, the other form of bribery is not just campaign donations and not just lobbyists, but hey, if you're a congressional staffer or you're actually a congressman or senator, wait till you get out of office and how we grease you up. In fact, over the last 10 years that we know the numbers for, from 2001 to 2011, 5,400 congressional staffers and close to 400 members left Capitol Hill to become federal lobbyists. And those are the guys who admit it, not like Newt Gingrich, who says he's a historical advisor to companies. Oh, please. So now that's a huge number. Understand, 400 members of the House and Senate, there's only 535 members. Now, of course, over 10 years it was a larger number, but 400, to give you a sense of perspective, is a giant chunk of those folks. Now, what pay increase did those people get when they left the actual congressmen and senators to become lobbyists? They got a pay increase of 1,452% on average. Gee, I wonder why they do exactly what big business tells them to do. Because that's how they get reelected, that's how they get their funding for their elections, and that's how they get paid once they leave office. I think the rest of the world might not quite be aware. And Americans are aware. In fact, when they asked what is your top priorities and the top problems in the country at this election, jobs came in number one, but just behind it, the issue that nobody talks about, none of the media asked about in this election cycle, none of them did stories on, something of course both parties and both candidates did not discuss. Number two overall was corruption. 87% of the country, 87%, have you ever seen a number that large, says that money influences our politics and it leads to corruption. So we know it here in the United States. You might not know all the details that I just gave you, but we know it in our bones because we see it every day. They take the money from the lobbyists and they do exactly what the lobbyists ask them to do, and they don't give a damn what we think. The polls and how we vote is ignored immediately after the elections. Now, a lot of the world might not know that. It might come as a surprise to them that in America, bribery is done on a professional level. That it's not something that is underhanded and you write a little, you give them a little money in an envelope and they stash it away. No, we've legalized it and institutionalized it. We've made it systemic. So it has taken over the whole body of politics in America, This is how it works, and this is how the American people get screwed. This is how we lost our democracy. You know what I think? I think we need to get a constitutional amendment to fix this, to get money out of politics so that big business cannot spend unlimited money corrupting our politicians, doing crony capitalism, and so that we publicly finance elections so that the politicians work for us instead of their donors. wolf-pac.com. That's the website that we set up to try to fight back. We hope you can join us in that fight because this is the #1 issue in America.